Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. As we prepare to emerge from our winter hibernations, weather always plays an important role during the spring months. What does Mother Nature have in store for the rest of April and into May? Well, we put Dan Tomaso on the case. He reports from State College.
We're here at the National Weather Service in State College, where they link meteorology and hydrology together. Not only is the State College Forecasting Office here for day-to-day weather, but also the Mid-Atlantic River Forecast Center, which monitors the Susquehanna and Juniata rivers locally.
Right now,
Charles Ross is the senior service hydrologist for the State College office. He says Pennsylvania rivers and creeks can flood any time during the year, but are especially flood prone during the spring.
When you hear of a big rainstorm coming, then we usually see pretty good responses on our rivers and streams this time of year. The deeper the valleys, the more flood-prone areas we see. So people that have homes near the streams and creeks, it's beautiful 99.9% of the time, but every couple years, every 10 years, every 2 years, depending on where you are, you will have a flood, and you may have to deal with flooding actually into your property or certainly on the way out of your properties.
Besides the topography funneling water down from the higher terrain, weather patterns here can create local flooding issues.
You have the Gulf of Mexico to our south, the Atlantic Ocean is to our east. When these strong storms come out of the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic with all the moisture that they occur, and then they meet some of the cooler air that we'll find to our north over Canada, it tends to wring itself out right over the mid-Atlantic, and Pennsylvania can be right in the crosshairs generally from the springtime right through the summer months.
Other natural processes play a role, including soil conditions and ice formation.
All winters in Pennsylvania are generally considered cold, so our ground freezes. We'll see the frozen ground. We'll get a snowpack, especially in the mountains where the water actually comes from by the time it gets to Harrisburg. And then we'll see icing on rivers and streams. That can cause problems.
Plants springing up in April and May help to alleviate flood concerns.
So until the green up occurs, we're really susceptible to runoff with all these conditions. Yeah, when the trees start budding and then the leaves pop out, we notice that stream flows generally respond by starting to become a little bit lower in the summer months, and it takes more rain to actually cause flooding because it's the evapotranspiration and just the way that all the foliage uses water takes a lot out of the system per se.
Given the factors that create flooding, how does the River Forecast Center keep track of and forecast water levels along creeks and streams?
We have a series of river gauges all across the region. We have one on City Island in Harrisburg. These are the USGS, United States Geologic Survey, actually runs these river gauges. We grab the data from them. It comes in every hour, sometimes even more than an hour, or more often if it's the water levels get high. And we're constantly monitoring water levels, and we actually can make the forecast here that will give an idea what the river will be doing for the next 48 to 72 hours.
The bottom line from this story is that Pennsylvanians have to be worried about flooding throughout the year, especially if you live next to a river or creek. Here at ABC 27, we'll try to keep you ahead of any flooding, along with the help from the Mid-Atlantic River Forecast Center. Working for you and Beyond the Forecast, I'm meteorologist Dan Tomaso.
Well, thanks so much, Dan. And we just saw one of these types of events over the weekend with a lot of rain coming not only from the Gulf of Mexico but from the Atlantic. And that is exactly what Dan mentioned, that we're in the crosshairs here to get some of these big flooding events. Lots more to come right now. Let's send things over to Eric.
Thank you very much, Brett. Next on Beyond the Forecast, some final thoughts. And we'll tell you about when to catch this show again. But first, here's some trivia as we head to break. Thank you for watching our spring edition of Beyond the Forecast. Although the winter seemed long and cold, it was not record-setting. As we move into spring, we turn our attention towards severe weather.
Yes, indeed. We remain committed to keeping you safe this severe weather season. And in order to do that, we have two more forums coming up this month. The first is April 8th at York Suburban Middle School. After that, Central Penn College in Summerdale on April 15th. Join us as we talk about severe weather safety and take questions from you in the audience. We certainly hope to see you there. Fink, you and I were in Chambersburg a couple weeks back and had a great time, great turnout.
Great turnout, and we hope the next two will be just as good.
Absolutely. All right. Well, remember, if you missed any part of this show, it will re-air all week at 8 on Storm Track Center 24/7. Check your local cable subscribers for your channel listing. And if you don't get cable, you can always watch Storm Track Center 24/7 live over the internet. Just click on the Live Weather tab on our homepage. Well, that wraps things up for this edition of Beyond the Forecast Spring Ahead. We hope to see you at those forums. Thanks for joining us.
And we'll see you next time. Have a great night.